Hey everybody, Dr. Anita Jackson here, founder and CEO of the Unlimited Woman Lifestyle and Business Network. Over the past few days and weeks, I have had the honor of interviewing several of my authors in my upcoming book, Women of Courage, Women of Destiny, Moving from Fear to Faith to Freedom. As a part of this particular video summit, I also wanted to introduce you to a few other women who have truly inspired me in their own story and journey to becoming courageous and unlimited in their personal life as well as in their business. And joining me today is just a young woman who I recently met. Her name is Audra Nothoff. I'm going to get it, girl. Who we met at church, and she literally has just touched the deepest part of my heart with who she is just a young woman with great dreams and visions, and then she has an amazing story and a beautiful young boy, baby actually, by the name of Zane, who I am madly in love with, she'll tell you. As soon as I see him, I grab him, he's mine. That's it, until someone comes and takes him from me, and even then, it's a little bit of a challenge to get him out of my arms. But I wanted you to hear, and I wanted you to see what it really means to be a woman of courage, particularly when it means you're facing all odds, when conversations, when family, when friends, when others are kind of against you. You have to make a decision. And sometimes that decision is so hard to make until you go deep within your own spirit and truth. You connect to God at the place that you can only connect to God, to hear the answer that only you can hear, and then follow that through. And Audra did that. And I want you to hear her story. So Audrey, sweetheart, thank you so much for she literally just got off work, got home, got on the computer, and we were rocking this thing out. So I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be here.
Oh, my pleasure.
With me.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Anita Jackson. You are just so wonderful. I met Dr. Jackson when I was volunteering at church, and I did it all the way until the week before I gave birth to the love of my life, baby Zane. And so her and I became close, and I do thank you for having me today.
So excited. So Audra she is a celebrity TV star for the premiere show Knocked Up. She'll tell you a little bit more about that, so you can hear her story. So Audra, let's start off by actually having you introduce yourself. Tell a little bit about, what you've been doing and a little bit of your story, and we'll go a little bit more in depth about it a little later.
Yeah, so I am a single mother, so let me start off with that. And it's not a position that, when I was a little girl, I was like, oh yeah, I want to be that single mom, that has my own baby and no man in my life. So that wasn't the case. Let me just start off there. But God has played a significant role in my life, and He is the father of my child as far as I'm concerned, and He's, my husband. And I am not in a relationship. I am a single woman, and I met up with someone that I went to high school with, and he was actually on another reality show. He was on The Bachelorette. And him and I met up when he came to California, because I'm from Michigan, and we ended up hooking up when I was in Michigan for a wedding, and I got pregnant. And I was told in my 20s that I would not be able to have children. So when I found out I was pregnant in the way that I was pregnant, I saw that pregnancy test and I threw it across the counter. I couldn't believe it. And I knew in my heart that there was no way that I would be able to get rid of this beautiful blessing that I was given. I mean, and I knew right away, I knew I was having a boy. I just knew it. And I actually wrote this letter, and I prayed to my God, and I prayed to God. I said, Lord, please tell me what to do in this situation. I'm not in your typical relationship, married with a child on the way. This is not my story, and please tell me what to do. And I'm in my early 30s, and I was told that I couldn't have children. Why now? But, the other half of my story is that I became sober, and I was, a typical party girl in my 20s and in my early 30s even. And I actually, the church that I found where Dr. Anita and I both go, I prayed on my hands and knees one night, and I said, Lord, I need a change in my life. Please, Lord, I'm ready to change. and I found this incredible church called the Congregation, and my life truly changed after I went to this church, and I became pregnant. And the Lord has a plan for all of us, and it's not necessarily what we think it's going to be, but my baby child Zane has saved me in more ways than I could ever imagine. He is my life. He is my heart. And, I am a single mother. The father is choosing not to be involved, but that's okay. It's making me that much stronger in my personal life and even in my work life. As Dr. Jackson said, I just got off work and here I am. It's pushed me to be that much of a stronger worker and also that much of a better mother.
Yeah. Here's this young woman who, against all odds, faced with a powerful decision. We've talked throughout the whole entire telesummit that the word decision means to reach a definite conclusion. So here's a young woman who made a decision to reach that conclusion within herself to keep her baby. And I don't want to give you the spoiler, but I would really love for you to watch her show so you can actually hear the journey that she's gone on and the different challenges that she had to face. And some of them brought forth tears and fear and anxiety and worried. And you've got parents who are kind of shocked themselves, and yet you still had to stay true to your own internal truth. So I want to start, Audrey, by asking you, how do you define courage, particularly in light of what you've gone through?
That's a really great question. I would say, courage is doing something that, it's sometimes uneasy. It frightens you, if you will. And being bold, almost like a lion, and taking that courage on and praying to your higher power and saying, you know what, with your help, my higher power is what I choose to call God, I can do this. Right. And just, being courageous is following that life that God has led you. You have that voice in your head, but listening to it.
Yes. Yes.
So that's courage to me.
Yes. I love that. And obviously this particular situation has really sharpened that courage inside you.
Absolutely.
Were you courageous before? Would you consider yourself a courageous woman before?
I would consider my previous, time before Zane, I lived in fear. And that's, I know something that you also touch upon, but I was someone that I didn't always turn my will and my life over to God, if you will. I had what Audra wanted to do and what I thought would work. And so I thought if I thought that it would work, because, I looked at the pluses and the minuses in my mind, but I didn't turn my life over to the Lord. That was how I lived my life. And when I did that, there was all of this craziness around me, and things didn't work out, the way that I thought they should. And when I really buckled down and I turned things over to my higher power, everything, and I mean everything in my life has changed.
And as a young woman, it really does, like I've always said throughout this whole entire, video summit, that being courageous is a daily choice. It is something that you have to confront internally and then walk that out externally. Like walk that out, behave according to your belief system on a daily basis. In order for that courage, it's like a muscle. You've got to work it out every single day if you want it to be strong.
Absolutely.
You would be willing to share, what do you do every single day, if there's anything every day that you do, to really help you stay courageous?
Well, there's a couple of things, actually. I am very in tune to music, and music is something that I absolutely love. And just listening to upbeat, music that really shows, you that there is a God and a Lord, and things that don't bring you down. I don't listen to necessarily things that are very popular on the radio. I'll listen to my Christian radio, and that is just, it puts me in a wonderful mood when I go to work. I know that there's something bigger and greater, and life happens. Things aren't necessarily always going to go the way that we think that they should go. But again, that's the way that, our thinking can get in the way of God's plan. And that's something that I truly, every single day, ask the Lord. I say, Lord, whatever your plan is today, thy will be done. Not my will, not Audra's will. It's going to be thy will be done. And if, let's say I just had a job interview the other day. It was like, Lord, thy will be done. If I'm supposed to have this, then thy will be done. And, I try to live by that, by the hour, by the minute sometimes, because life does happen, and then you just have to turn it over to your God.
You said there were several things that you do outside of constantly praying and surrendering to God and allowing God to lead you in the right direction in every decision that you make. What are some other things that you do in addition to listen to music?
I also, anytime that I really have a bad moment, it's all about my son. I can't even explain that enough, that when you look at a beautiful child, and especially, my son that at one point I was like, okay, I got myself in a mess. What do I do? And I wasn't necessarily sure when I first got pregnant what I was going to do. Mm-hmm. And when I see his beautiful face every morning and I see his sleeping, he's just so sweet. When I see that boy, he just makes life so wonderful, and he can just snap me out of it like that. And so just realizing how blessed I am to have him in my life and to be his mother, that's something that, truly motivates me.
So for those, a lot of you already know me and know that I'm not a mom. That's not something that God has allowed me to have yet. That doesn't mean that won't change in the future. But when Zane was born, for a little boy, I have to tell you, from a spiritual, energetic place, this little boy has a gift on him. I haven't even told Audra how I feel about this little boy. It's like this little boy's got a gift on him, particularly because he came against all odds. If here's this young woman who's told she can't have children, and he decided she's the mother I want. He is the most lovingest, calmest, sweetest, joyful baby who I still says loves me the most, at least at church. He's absolutely adorable. And a lot of that has to do with the beautiful heart that Audrey has. As you can see, she's a young woman with dreams, with passion, with heart, with soul. And because this is the time for more young women to hear that they're being supported by other women to make the decisions that are best for them, I wanted her to be on the show. So Audrey, let's go a little deeper. Let's start talking a little bit more about this idea of fear. Not fear from, oh my gosh, a bear's chasing me, although that could be a part of it. How do you define fear in your life? And I'm assuming outside of this particular situation you've gone through, what other experience of fear have you faced, and how did you overcome it? So the first question is, how do you define it? What's the situation that you've overcome in regards to fear?
I would define fear as anxiety, apprehension. I'm someone that I still, if I rely on myself, I have a lot of anxiety in my life, and then I have to really think about why I'm anxious, and it all stems from fear. It all stems from fear. And that's something that, I really try to work on a daily basis. I recently, because I had a roommate and then I had my baby, when I first signed my lease with my roommate, we didn't know that I was pregnant. And then I found out, and I, obviously decided to keep my beautiful baby, but my roommate decided to move out. So then, that was very fearful. What do I do? I can't afford where I live on my own. What do I do? And I was getting very anxious because it was coming down to the time where I would have to move out, and I could not find anything that I could afford on my own. And I needed to stay close to my mother because she's helping me with childcare. God bless her. And I also found this other amazing woman who's able to take him part-time, and my mom helps me part-time with my baby. And so I had to be close enough to that. So I had to stay in a certain area. So what was I going to do? And go figure, last minute, I asked for someone that was a student that lived close by to where I lived, and I just turned it over, and I really tried not to get fearful. It was very hard at the end because I was like, God, I've given this to you, because I first was like, oh no, I can go into low income housing. God would let me do this or, that, or, and it didn't work out. And I've since gotten, a job offer for a much higher paying job where that housing would not have worked for me. So I was able to find someone that's a student that came last minute, and she's perfect. She's actually out of town for 2 weeks right now. And it's just, even that time, I now have 2 weeks around the holidays to spend with my son, just him and I, and that is so wonderful. And so there's lots of different circumstances. What was I going to do with the father of my child? What was I going to do when the media found out that I'm the single mother and the way that it happened? what am I going to do when people look at me like, oh my gosh, that is who you are, and put that label and that stigma on me.
Right.
But it's something that has been such a blessing. I've had other single mothers reach out to me, find me on social media, go out of their way to find me,
Yeah.
and tell me thank you, for opening your story up to me.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I didn't mention yet about my son Zane is that I wasn't sure what I was going to name him. I knew before I was told that he was going to be a boy. I just knew. I wrote a letter to my son, and the name Zane came to me in a dream. God talks to me in dreams, and I looked it up the next morning, and it means God's gracious gift.
Oh,
and for me to look that up, I mean, it's such a beautiful thing that he has so many blessings on him. He was my gift, and he changed my life for the better in so many ways.
It's interesting because, as I said earlier, I've kind of been on this journey with Audra from the very beginning. Well, a little bit after she told me that she was pregnant. And I remember when I first met her, and we just got along almost instantaneously, really. And then I had a dream about her saying, I saw you on the stage speaking with me, and I knew you had a story, but I don't know what that story is. And so I wanted to find out if that's something you're interested in. And so that really opened up the door for us to start to stay connected, because I knew that she had something deep inside to share. I just didn't know what it was yet. And then, a couple of weeks later, she told me I'm pregnant, this is what I'm going to be doing, and I'm having all these different challenges. But yet, despite the challenges, she has stayed true to her conviction and her faith in God and her faith in herself that she was going to be led in the right direction. So with that being said, define faith. Outside of what you've already said, how do you describe faith in God, and how do you describe faith in yourself?
Faith in myself is reliant and contingent upon faith in God. That's one and the same to me. And faith in God is utter and complete confidence that if I trust in him, he will steer me in the right direction. Now, it's not necessarily going to be the direction that I thought. Like, who would have thought in my family that me getting pregnant in the way that I did would be a blessing? I mean, when I told my parents, who are very traditional, I mean, it completely caught them off guard, and no one really knew what to say about the situation. But now that they've seen how I've grown and how my child has literally brought the family back together, I mean, that was God's plan. And it's not necessarily what we thought, but that is faith, is realizing that he will get us there if we believe in him.
Yes. It's interesting. I'm glad that you said that, because, I look at my life and the journey that I've gone on over the past couple of years. And there's so many times early on, especially over the past 5 years, I was saying, how did I get here? I went to school. I have all these different degrees behind my name. I've accomplished quite a bit in my life. And here I am in this place where I've lost everything. And then, like you said, sometimes it's the loss or the change or something you didn't expect to happen that's so dramatic that becomes the greatest gift in helping you become the person God always intended you to be. I now say, losing my job, being laid off from my job, losing my house, losing the guys I was going to marry, losing all the things that I had in my life has now proven to be the best gift in my life, because if anything's caused me to trust God more and to surrender to his leadership and to really place that as the foundation and the heartbeat of my life and how I operate my business, and seeing even now the transformation of how that surrendering and that faith has elevated my life has made such a huge difference. So I have one more question for you as we come to a little bit of a close.
Sure.
Define for us how you define freedom, and why do you think freedom is so important for a woman's life right now? Especially women who are young and maybe with young children, because you're just a different mindset, different kind of a style of life. So how do you define freedom and applies to women?
I would say, liberty, the freedom of, just being yourself, of being bold, of, standing up for what you believe in. I mean, all of that is freedom. And just not allowing, what you necessarily think people are going to think of you to get in the way. I mean, if I would have sat and thought of all of the ways that people were going to label me and, judge me for keeping my child, even though it was from, basically a hookup, I would have driven myself crazy. And the thing is that something that I can say, this is who I am, and this is what's happened to me because of it. And my son has changed my life, and he's been the biggest blessings in so many ways. And I want the women out there to know that they should not hide their head in shame, that they should be proud of where they stand, and that, you know, children are blessings, and own that, and own who you are. And don't let anyone tell you that you're not good enough. Don't ever let anyone do that, because God has steered you to be the best person that you are. And you need to realize that you are who you are, and that's good enough.
That's right. Well said, girl. But
Thank
everything
you.
you've gone through, it has a purpose, has value.
Absolutely.
Nothing goes without God saying, I'm using all of it, and all of it's going to be a blessing to you if you'll allow it to be.
Yes.
If you allow me
Very
to
important.
be in control of your life, and if you allow me to guide you, I will use even the most horrific thing in your life to be your greatest blessing.
Yes.
So, Audrey, again, you know how much I absolutely love you and adore you, and I wanted to support you and congratulate you on the decisions you've made, and how you're constantly, and every single time I meet you, we see her obviously every single week, how you are showing up in your life, showing up for your baby, how you're raising this beautiful, absolutely beautiful spirit of a young man in Zane, who, again, I am madly in love with. I've adopted myself as an auntie. You're a mom now. No, I'm sorry, I'm kind of in the family now. Hopefully you guys don't mind.
I love it.
But
We love you.
would you tell our audience a little bit about your show so they can see you and get a chance to know more about you and your story and your journey?
Yeah, so the show is called Knocked Up, just like the movie, and it's going to be on Lifetime. My episode already aired, but you can catch it on demand. So it would be episode 1 of Knocked Up, and it just chronicles me and 2 other women that were single, and then our pregnancy journeys, basically what happened and how this changed our lives. And it's it's a very powerful show. Lots of tears.
Yeah, sure. So as you can already imagine, just listening to her share who she is and her faith and her conviction, and the way she has decided to show up for herself and for her son, that Audrey has an amazing journey and mission to empower other women to make the decision to be courageous in their own life, regardless of whether you are a speaker, an author, a mother, a wife. Just being a woman, we want to encourage you to show up for you, and then life will show up for you just as well. Allow yourself to be courageous. There has never been, you've heard me say this throughout the whole entire video summit, there has never been a more crucial time for the voice, the heart, and the spirit of a woman to come forward and courageously make a stand for what she believes in, for the ethics, for her morals, for her values, than now. You are so needed to show up in our world. And that's how we're going to bring about peace and healing to our family, to our community, and to our world. Until then, make sure you stay close and in touch with me for our upcoming book that's coming out in March, Women of Courage, Women of Destiny, Moving from Fear to Faith to Freedom. Until then, God bless. To your unlimited success. Take care. Thanks, Audra, for coming.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.